Hello and welcome to another Office Hours. Office Hours. Man, my brain has been scrambled. To the Captain's Table, yours here at the AstroPub, your space bar at the end of the universe. What is the Captain's Table? The Captain's Table is a podcast that I've been doing for 8 years now about Star Citizen. I bring people from all over the Star Citizen universe to talk about the game, latest news, theory craft, talk about the lore, talk about the future, talk about the current gameplay stats, everything. We talk about just about anything that has to do with Star Citizen. And today we've got a couple of very special guests from Atmo Esports, a group that I have been proud to help out and help around for the last, was it 3 years now? 4 years that you've been around? Or has it been longer than that?
It's been
6+ years.
It's been like six, 7 years.
Well, it's only been Atmo for a couple of years though, right? Because it was Daymar Rally before that, and then moved over.
It was like 2019, yeah, 2020, 2019. Yeah.
So, but yeah, so who actually helped me out get to the last Citizen Con? It was without them, I wouldn't been able to go, and I've been a big fan of their work. And if you haven't checked out their content, it's at youtube.com/Atmo Esports, and all one word, and same on Twitch, correct?
Yep.
Awesome. So before we get started, let's introduce each of the individual cast members. I'll start with you, Crew. Who are you? What do you do in Star Citizen, and where can they find you?
All right, let's go. Well, Paul, always a pleasure to be on the Captain's Table. We've been known each other for some time. OGs, as we call it,
Yes.
but there's a new generation of streamers out there. But so my name is Crucian. I am the marketing director at Atmo Esports, but I also stream over at Crucian Gaming on Twitch. And yeah, what I do in Star Citizen, Atmo Esports, we run competitive tournaments in the game. We've been running it since 3.0, to be honest. We've, no matter the hurdle, no matter the issues, no matter the state of the game, we run these tournaments, and we try to give citizens, a sense of belonging in our competitive community. So, nobody can say, hey, there's not enough content out there, right? People year round, training for Daymar Rally and things like that. So it's been a pleasure to do this, all voluntary for the entire team to bring these, competitive tournaments, to Star Citizen, to the community. And now to jump into a little bit of it, but not to talk too much about it, we're now doing a massive event at CitizenCon 2954 called Enter Atmosphere, and it's our own event, it's our own ticketed event, but we're doing it for the community once again. We're going to be showcasing some ship racing. We're going to be doing our Fight or Flight Championship finals. If you were watching the dogfighting tournament a couple weeks ago, it was absolutely insane. It was a lot of fun. We did it regional this year, so we have like APAC and EMEA and Americas. So now we're bringing the top teams of those regions, and they're going to battle it out to get a trophy. Trophy presentation by Chris Roberts. So yeah, it's gonna be a fun time. We all do a lot. So this team has been amazing, and it's been a great journey, right? I don't stream as much as you do, Paul, and I'm so happy you're still doing it because you're the king of information for Star Citizen, especially for lore. But I just been behind the scenes, right, helping Atmo grow and hopefully taking it to the next level with this in-person event. Yeah,
Crew is one of the second or first generation streamers for Star Citizen. You were streaming Star Citizen back well before any of this stuff has happened. So he's been around a very long time for this. So it's been interesting to watch. It's been great to watch you help bring this team from just sort of like a fun little group of people who do Daymar Rally to what it's become, which is really, really exciting. Zul, who are you? What do you do in Star Citizen? Where can they find you?
So my name is Zul, and I am an original backer of Star Citizen, day one from the Kickstarter. I am the communications director and the head of R&D for Atmo Esports, which means that I'm the one that herds the cats. And I'm also the guy who makes all of the tracks that can sometimes frustrate all the players out there as we get going through. I actually started out with Atmo Esports as a cameraman after a failed attempt with the Daymar Rally for my team, where we had some trouble with some rocks, and got in touch with Corsair, who said, hey, we're looking for people to help out. Ended up hooking up with them, doing some camera work, and over the years, I've just grown with Atmo and had the absolute honor of, sort of rising through the ranks to the point where I'm at now and helping to kind of lead the team. It's a lot of fun. We have so much, it's such a deep-rooted fan project. Nobody at Atmo gets paid. Everybody's a volunteer. All the people that that you see running our cameras, the people that are on the broadcast, the people behind the scenes, literally everything that makes Atmo tick is 100% volunteer from the community. And the amount of people that we've had come through and help us out over the years is just, it's amazing. It's so humbling to know that the Star Citizen community is so willing to come together for these types of passion projects. And it's not just us, there's many of these out here. And the community just, feeding us new people to help run cameras and help set up tracks and, get everybody going. And like Crucian said, we've got an absolutely phenomenal team, and it's so much fun. And the culmination of where we're at this year doing Inter-Atmosphere and being able to bring this tournament, along with Star Citizen to the people is just, it's an honor. It really is.
Awesome. And Enigmatic, who are you? What do you do in Star Citizen, and where can they find you?
Sure. My name is Enigmatic. In terms of Atmo Esports, I am the team's broadcast producer and director. I lead the broadcast team, essentially. Anything you see on the stream through YouTube, through Twitch, any other medium we stream to, goes through me at some point. All that's coordinated on the back end with a ton of team members that put in so much time and effort, and I'm really grateful to work with. Other than that, I had a YouTube channel at some point, but of course things go as they get tired. So it's been about a year since I've added anything. That's how it usually goes. Other than that, I just edit videos for some content creators here and there, and just mostly Atmo in terms of Star Citizen.
Awesome. Yeah, I can't stress enough that these three folks are like, it's a team effort. As been somebody who's been behind the scenes a couple times with Atmo, without people like Crew and Enigmatic and Zool, like none of this would happen. And it's a crew of volunteers. Everyone at Atmo is a volunteer. They do their best to try to help out with what they can and make sure everything's good. And so it's really good and like fun time. And the times if you get to see it, especially live at CitizenCon, was amazing. And I'm really looking forward to Enter Atmosphere this year in terms of like what everything's going on, because you said it's its own venue. It's separate from CitizenCon, right?
Yeah. So a quick story is that where they were going to have the gala is the same place where we're doing our event. Since the gala kind of didn't work out, they kind of introduced us to the team at Aviva Studios, and we saw the venue and we're like, holy crap, like this is a place that we know we can definitely run a massive show. And we worked out a deal, and obviously tickets are being sold, but we're just trying to break even at this point. Like we're not here to make money. We're just here to throw something for the community that's super special. Like CitizenCon on Sunday, Paul, is going to actually end around 3 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
And then what are citizens going to do after that, right? Maybe they were going to do a bar citizen or something, and we're like, hey, let's Atmo Esports throw something for the community that's going to be something that's unforgettable. So, we try to do so much to, obviously make sure that the value for the cost is there. We're actually printing like these very badass posters that citizens can pick up at our booth at CitizenCon. The badges that has their gamer tags are all holographic, so it has a pretty nice sheen of a holofoil holographic type of badge. So and then you also get a drink ticket that's normally anywhere between 6 to 8 pounds. So we're trying our best to to make sure that everything runs smooth. And on top of that, I think 2 weeks ago we had confirmed that Chris Roberts wants to do a meet and greet there with along with Sandy and other devs. So we're like, sure, no problem. Like, so all the devs are pretty much going to congregate over to Enter Atmosphere once CitizenCon is over around 3 p.m. that Sunday. So we're very excited. We've been planning. We're super busy. We're losing our minds, but I'm so happy to do it with this team.
Yeah. So it is a separate ticket. Just to make sure people know, you do have to pay for a separate ticket because it is being run by Atmo Esports, not by CIG. So it's a completely different thing. CIG is supporting them because CIG is very supportive. I was going to say last year was crazy because I was behind the scenes for Fight or Flight, and there were some issues they were having with the server that they were that Atmo Sports was using. So the first it was like Ahmed was there looking at it, and then it was Benoit, and then it was like the entirety of the team that builds the back end services. All three of them were sitting there going like, okay, what if we do this? What if we do this? It was them troubleshooting, and I'm like, man, this is insane to have these the rock stars of CIG's like online services just in one place looking at a server. It's like,
well, we won't have that issue this time around. So, and just to be clear too, right? Like even the devs, right? Like, because we need to break even, like not even the devs, you know, they also have to purchase a ticket. You know, that sounds kind of like, well, oh, they made the game. I understand we do have some, you know, some badges allotted to a lot of the devs and the community team, but the rest of them, unfortunately, will have to kind of buy their way in. But something that we won't have to go through that this year, Paul. The issues for the game, we have a completely planned aligned. And this year we have about 4,200 citizens that bought a CitizenCon ticket, plus around 900 developers that are going to CitizenCon this year. But, you know, Enter Atmosphere only sits around 1,200. So, you know, tickets have been going really quickly, really steadily. So all I'm going to say, if you're going to CitizenCon and you have the extra expenses to make, please take a look at the event and join us. Trust me, it's going to be a night you're never going to forget. Promise you that.
Awesome. Yeah, check it out. And it's you can buy it at Atmo Esports website, but it doesn't have its own website. It's just Enter Atmosphere.
Yeah, it's atmo.sc/EA54.
Okay. There we go.
Enter Atmosphere 54, so EA54.
For those of you watching this after the fact, I'll have it in the top comment and in the description if you want to check it out yourself. So, that being said, let's talk about the topic for today, which is the ground gameplay and ground game in general for Star Citizen. Because I've been wanting to talk about it because one of the big things that came out recently is the Argo ATLS, the Atlas, loader mech. And it got me thinking about how Star Citizen functions outside of its native environment, which is space. And when I realized that Crew and Zool and Enigmatic were coming on, the folks from Atmo Esports, I was like, maybe this is a good thing to talk about to the people who literally got started with vehicle gameplay as their main focus. So let's start with you, Enigmatic, on this one.
Sure.
What is currently what is the current status of, like, say, ground vehicles in Star Citizen in your opinion, based on your experience? Like, is it good, bad, just a general vibe of where it is right now?
As a player, I normally fold towards the combat FPS style of gameplay. I'm not that great of a ship pilot, so a lot of my experience in video games and in Star Citizen particular has been on the ground. I feel that currently the ground vehicle state is not powerful enough, and simultaneously there's a couple of vehicles that just blow everything else out of the water in terms of combat utility. Things like the I'm actually forgetting the name of the Centurion's bigger brother, the missile
Ballista.
The Ballista. The Ballista has such great potential if it isn't hamstrung by server performance. It's got huge missiles and can absolutely lock down an entire area. We've seen it at Jumptown. We've seen it at Ghost Hollow, several places. But everything else has such low utility, low usage because it's clunky, and I feel that the suspension on all the vehicles definitely needs a rework or some player adjustable tuning for it to work on different planet gravities. Because if you're tuning for Daymar and then you arrive on Lorville, you're gonna bottom out on every single curb, every single hill, and that's a problem when you take damage during falls like that. So in short, yeah, I think that there is, especially with combat focused ground vehicles, a long way to go.
Okay. Zool, your current your current kind of just gut feeling about ground gameplay as it stands right now.
So I am an avid Star Citizen player, and I actually own every single ground vehicle in the game. And I use not only just for Atmo, but also because I love those vehicles.
So what you're trying to say is you're the problem. You are the problem.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. I'm the source. I'm the source of all the issues.
When Zool sees the next, like hover bike, it's just Chris Roberts saying, "Give me money." Zool's like, "I'll take Pretty 5." Much.
Yeah. I mean, just between us here, I bought 4 of the Atlases when they came out because you need them for things.
I have 2. I'm part of the problem too. I know that. Yep. But I am unapologetically a mech fan. So anytime I see Big Stumpy Robot, I'm just like, I'll take your whole stock. So that's just how that
trying
works.
To start the underground battle bot.
Right.
I'm right there with you. All right. When there's Rock'em Sock'em Robots, when Atmo decides to do, mech combat as a tournament, I will be the first person to sign up for that. So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I mean, with all the vehicles that we have in the game right now, obviously Atmo focuses on the racing aspect of them.
Mm-hmm.
When I am designing tracks, I try to design, because what we try to do in Atmo is we always try to design our tracks so that they have a skill portion, and then they've got just a flat out speed portion. Well, obviously, as Enigmatic said, there are certain vehicles that always perform better. So for instance, if you want to do a race and you want something from what we call the buggy category, you've only got 2 choices. You've either got the Cyclone RC or the Cyclone RC. Or if you really want one, you could get a Cyclone RC, because that's pretty much all there is. And CIG came out with the Greycat STV, which is a racing vehicle. And at the beginning, when they first brought it in, it was pretty much neck and neck with the Cyclone for a very short amount of time, and then it got sort of left behind and forgotten about. I think that CIG, as far as the ground vehicle game goes, I think that they need to focus more on sideways progression rather than vertical progression. And what I mean by that is, if you want to support ground racing in Star Citizen, give us an Anvil buggy and a Tumbrel buggy and a Drake buggy that looks like a piece of junk, and make them all roughly the same speed, but maybe the wheels don't fall off the Anvil as fast as they fall off the Drake, but the Drake's a little bit faster, or maybe it has more guns on it, but its wheels fall off really quick, whereas the Tumbrel, if you're using one with a gun on it, maybe the gun is more powerful. So if you have, when we go into stuff like the Daymar Rally, if you have multiple choices, then it starts becoming about the players choosing what works best for them. Do you want more speed over more armor? Do you want more guns over more problems? What exactly is it that you want to use? In the ground game right now of Star Citizen, because the game is still suffering from the desync issues and stuff we have of not getting the server meshing in as of yet, we have problems with vehicles jittering, sometimes falling through the planet. We used to call them, in the Daymar Rally, we used to call them secret tunnels, where a vehicle would be driving and just all of a sudden disappear under the ground and then pop up somewhere else. We say, oh, look, you took one of the secret tunnels. So we have these desync issues and stuff, but I expect those to be worked out as we move forward, hopefully. When we get the server meshing down, maybe not the first iteration, but maybe the second or third iteration of server meshing, hopefully those types of things will go away. And at that point, the only thing that should separate racers on a track of any sort could be the skill of that racer. So, once we get to the point where we're allowed to switch out the components of them, the wheels of them, maybe you can tune them if you're an engineer, that type of stuff, all of that type of things will be part of your team, allowing you to be put in a position to win. But we also need to have vehicles that are multiple types of vehicles that are close enough together that you have a reason to choose, A over B over C.
Okay. Crew, same question for you. And no, don't just say they need to release the Ranger, because I agree they need to release the Ranger.
That was right there.
I kind of don't agree with Zool on this one, to be honest, because he mentioned a little bit about saying like all vehicles should be around the same speed. I don't think they should, right? What they're doing right now with the mechanics is right from before to now is like the weight plays such a big part in it. I totally agree with what Sierra's saying, that whenever you're trying to go up a hill, you can't go up properly unless you have proper speed. There's just so many factors right now with, with the mechanics. We know that they're concentrating on 4.0 right now, and hopefully after 4.0 they can go back to those ground mechanics, because those ground mechanics in turn, when we get those new ones, is gonna, hopefully build what the Ranger is gonna be, and then we kind of get the Ranger. But yeah, what was I, like Zul said, having them all the same kind of speedish, I don't agree. I want to be able to have different speeds, because like, he did make a point saying like maybe one has more armor. Now, if that one has more armor, it's going to have more weight on that vehicle, so
Correct.
it's going to have less speed, right?
Yep.
But it's tough right now, man. We did System 7 earlier this year, and a lot of the competitors, because they love to compete, they competed, but not many of them were having too much fun, trying to kind of, push the limits of ground, the ground racing game. We normally have this map called the Snake Pit, where we go on the pipes. Even though like the mechanics of the game is making everything nice, smoother. When you go on the pipe, there's no more like, having like one wheel out to the side because there's like a hidden ledge. There's none of that anymore. So they did a great job of fixing that. But like it's just making the ground vehicles like less desirable by, with the current mechanics of what's happening right now. And I feel until they fix that, like I don't think they should release anything, because people just are not going to desire, those ground vehicles, but they did a good job with the mech. I think the mech is great. I wish it had more use cases, other than, cargo, but it moves great. It's good for, for cargo people that needs it, to move stuff around your hangar if you need it, to throw bombs. That was the most funniest video I've ever seen. So, the state of the ground vehicles, man, I hope it gets better. I hope we get things like boost back, and like Zul made a great point, interchanging, modules in those vehicles to hopefully get maybe you want more traction instead of a 5% boost. Maybe you want, these different things. I think is only going to make ground vehicles, a lot better. But right now, man, it's in a tough spot. And that's one of our favorite things at Ammo Esports is ground racing, right? We have an entire racing league and the rally. Every time, like, this is how fun it is, right? Every time a new vehicle comes out, it only increases the Dayma Rally participation by like 30%, which is insane, right? So I hope that after 4.0, we can go back and fix things. Sorry to mention this, but fix things like the flight model, and hopefully, the mechanics of vehicles as well. I totally understand and totally agree that they do need to concentrate on getting 4.0 out, but hopefully after that, we can start, getting some great quality of life improvements.
Yeah. I just generally kind of am going to share the same vibe. One of the things is like CIG puts a lot of time and effort into the vehicles. And it's clear that they have some very passionate people behind building those vehicles. I've heard the CIG developers talk about coming from various racing games in the past. A lot of them are big fans of like Formula One and other racing leagues. So they definitely want to support more of that, not just, from Atmo Esports, but just in general for like gameplay. And the problem comes down to, it's so frustrating to see a vehicle like the Tumbril Storm, which I understand why it was built. I don't like the style of it, but I understand what exists. But it's one of those vehicles. It's one of those vehicles that like it cries out for an actual purpose. Like it needs to have a reason to, but right now there's just not a lot of reason to take out a Storm or even a Cyclone or any Gravlev vehicle. There's no gameplay application. Like some of my most fun times was hiding in a little rock hideout near Jumptown. And I'd have friends, you'd have somebody come in with a fighter, and I'd have an air cover who would drag the fighter within the range of the ballista, because the ballista they can't see because it's so low signature. So by the time they can see the ballista, I've already got a lock on them. And there was this time where he came straight over me, locked it, that fighter came straight over me and realized way too late that I was right there, launched a missile out, hit it directly on, and exploded it as it went over me. And I was just like, yes! It was that kind of like, like that. It felt like this is what this is made for. These sorts of great moments, great cinematic moments for that sort of thing. But it's like, it's so few and far between that it feels like whenever CIG releases a ground vehicle, I go, this looks great, but Why? CIG will give me a reason to.
If I may.
Go ahead.
I think it seems like CIG has built a lot of these vehicles to be able to combat with one another. And if you take all the spaceships out of the equation, then it kind of makes sense. But unfortunately, the mode that they built that for and the mode that they really wanted that to happen for was super balanced, and it was supposed to be coming out
years ago,
like 2020.
Yeah.
And Theaters of War was supposed to be this perfect playground where they could balance this content and make it just perfectly available to everyone in every skill level. But when you have such a sandbox like Star Citizen in the PU, there's so many factors. You have rocket pods that people have forgotten about, but I bet are still effective on ground vehicles, especially since they can't move as fast as ships. And so in terms of the entire sandbox, I think CIG needs to either build content for these vehicles to be used or further tune the balance between the, so to speak, aircraft and ground vehicles for combined arms gameplay, for all that kind of combat gameplay, or even like the mule.
Oh God.
I want to use the forklift.
Yeah.
But like
you
that
don't need
kind of
one.
thing.
You have the Atlas now.
I know. With the forklift.
So kind of going along that factor, what do you think CIG needs to do? And I'll start with you on this one, Crew. What do you think CIG needs to do in order to encourage more ground vehicle usage? Like, what would, for you, what would make you go, yes, I'm going to use this vehicle now? What would you like to see from CIG for that?
I think Sierra hit such a great point, right? Content is number one. The number one thing here, right? Content is such a big part of, why we're using ground vehicles. And I saw somebody in chat mention like some of the missions we used to have back then, but honestly, just not enough participation, right? And back then, I think the vehicles were, obviously they were more arcadey and more going a lot faster. And there was still not much, not much participation in some of those missions, but I feel like there's such a bigger player base now than they was before. And I think that, now it won't make sense because, again, they really need to do the mechanics of it. But I think, number one, content. Number two, fixing, the mechanics around how vehicles are just acting. Bring out some new, like, I think it was Zul that you mentioned, and, engineering, engineering gameplay around you changing the parts of that vehicle. Repair gameplay falls on top of that as well, because like if you're out there, going hard on the Ranger or Cyclone and something breaks down and you can repair and stuff, I think that's going to really bring that content together the way it's supposed to be. And I think with those few elements, I think it will make racing a little bit more desirable. And not to toot our own horn here, but the Daymar Rally is in lore. Make it a mission. Make it a mission. Bring the whole server out. Make it a mission, right? Like run the Daymar Rally, get a title, get a coin like they normally do with some of the other combat stuff in Arena Commander, right? That stuff will attract people. Listen,
CIG, Meyer, who is often a commentator for Atmo Esports, is a voice actor. I'm sure Meyer would love to be a voice actor for an in-game Daymar Rally sort of event, being the sort of voice, welcome to the Daymar Rally, kind of thing for your gameplay. I love it. Yeah. Sorry. Just a little section.
No, that's awesome. And just one thing, last thing I'll mention is that, can you imagine if they put like a kind of King of the Hill type of gameplay in every server where like you have to like, hold this crater down just with vehicles? I think it's kind of like Jumptown a little bit, but like make it a dome. So it's not like you can't just, use ships and stuff, right? Like make it like an inside, make it a covered area where people have to go in there, and it has like hangar doors, and you got to like battle it out for like 30 minutes, and whoever gets, wins gets like 5 million AUEC or something. So, you can get a whole, that'll be awesome. That'll be awesome.
I'm a big fan of Mech Warrior, and in Mech Warrior, they have a kind of a tournament that they do in game or in the games called Solaris 7, where it's just basically mechs get two mechs enter, one mech leaves kind of thing. It's an arena. It's a gladiatorial arena, but with big stompy robots. Just doing that sort of the destruction derby style that y'all do with what is it called? It used to be called something.
Hurt Locker.
Hurt Locker, yeah, something like that. But like making it with an audience and an announcer with just people like we're driving around killing each other in vehicles. Wow, perfect. I love it. Everyone loves a good tournament arc. It's required for all anime, so why not? Go for it, CIG.
That's true.
Zool, how about you? What would you think? What would need to happen for you to start using, not only just using ground vehicles, but making ground vehicles more engaging, ground gameplay in general?
So I'm going to apologize ahead of time because I'm about to give you a very controversial take.
Go for it.
I'm a heavy RPer. I'm big. I'm a huge RPer, and I'm huge on immersion. I do a twice weekly show called The Adventures of Woebot on both Twitch and YouTube, where it is all 100% from the eyes of the main character. Everything is done in RP. Every line is set in RP. I have to work through all the bugs and everything. It's a lot of fun, and I enjoy it quite a bit. But even on my main account, I think that CIG needs to give people a reason to use the vehicles. And here's where the controversial take comes from. No one should be able to fly up and park in front of an outpost anywhere. There should be enough missiles and guns around those outposts that if you come within 2 kilometers, that's it. You're done. I don't care what you bring. Bring an 890, we're going to pop through your shields and you're going to fall to the ground and die. Instead, bring your vehicle, park out 2K, drive the vehicle, and there should not be so many rocks and stuff surrounding the actual outposts. They should give you clear sight lines. And what I mean by that is you don't have to put down paved roads. You just need to remove some of the stuff so that somebody driving up can definitely tell this is the path that people before me have taken. Then what happens is your people start landing 2K out. They pull out their vehicle. They drive up to the location, go inside, shoot everybody, get the box, do whatever it is they're going to do, put it in the vehicle, drive back to their ship and fly away, not having taken, hits from the outpost. They could do the exact same thing at the distribution centers. Every time I go to a distribution center, I always have a vehicle in my ship. I always park on the outskirts. I always drive in, and there are arrows, and there are F8Cs, and there's wardens all parked right in front of the area where vehicles are supposed to drive in. I mean, it's a road. You can see that it's a road, and it goes inside the distribution center, and here's all these ships just packed there to the point that I can't even drive up to it. If you were to put something in place that said, hey, if you land your ship on the road, we're going to give you a tier 2 crime stat, people would be like, well, I don't want a tier 2 crime stat. So then they're going to park farther away. When they park farther away, nobody wants to run for a kilometer to get up to their mission. They're going to start bringing vehicles because then they have the ability to drive up. Right then, you've just given people reasons to use vehicles. Even if it's something like for me, for instance, I usually tool around in a Constellation Taurus with a medevac in it as my personal hospital and a Pulse in there as my bike. When I get to where I'm going, I usually take the Pulse if I don't need to haul anything, or I take the medevac if I think people are going to be shooting at me. And sometimes I even put a Drake in there as well, the mule, if I'm doing like the smaller box missions. And I'll drive the mule up there, and I'll just put the 3 little boxes on the side and drive back to the ship. And by having that Taurus there with all 3 of those vehicles on it, it gives me the ability to choose what I want to do. So if I'm in a hurry, I take the Pulse. If I think I'm going to get shot up, I'll take the medvac, so I'm closer to to where I need to be. And if I need to get some boxes, since the medvac doesn't have a place to put those boxes in the back and they roll around, I'll take the mule with me. So if you give people a clear reason to use the vehicles, they will start using the vehicles. And I definitely agree with both Enigmatic and Crucian. There needs to be missions in the game that can only be completed by a vehicle. Maybe it's underneath, maybe it's inside of a tunnel in a ground cave or something that you can't pull a ship in. Maybe it's deep inside of the, maybe you need to take your mule and go deep inside of the distribution center to pick up a single 1 SCU box in your mule and bring it back out to your ship to deliver it where it goes. Those types of things will automatically cause people to want to use their vehicles because they will, I hate to say it, be forced to use their vehicles.
Yep. All right. Enigmatic, what would cause you to use your vehicles more frequently, or to like to get people to? What do you think to get people to become more active as with the ground game and interacting with it?
I think Zul has some great points about like overall design in terms of getting people to use their vehicles by, specifically cordoning off a portion of airspace around these ground locations. Now, I think that while these air defenses and things can be a little oppressive, as long as you have a skill-based option for pilots to be able to take them out, that we can akin this to the wild weasels, which are units of aircraft in the United States Air Force that are specifically tasked with taking out air defenses one-on-one. Basically, they go in before any other airstrikes and they fight the air defenses. It's very dangerous and it's very intense. But if you give the players the chance to do that, I think that's going to be a really fun challenge. And if you're not up to the challenge of taking out all those air defenses so you can land right on top of it, then you have your ground vehicles. Having multiple ways of gameplay that increase and decrease in the high risk, high reward, low risk, low reward is going to be such a boon to more engagement in ground vehicles and into missions in general.
Okay. Yeah, one of the issues with players that I've always noticed is that players are like water. They will always flow to the easiest access. And what happens is when you're playing video games, if everybody can land right in front of the outpost, they're always going to land right in front of the outpost. And then when somebody, for instance, right now you could sprint everywhere. I don't sprint. I literally walk everywhere I go in Star Citizen. When my org mates see me walking, they're like, "Why are you walking everywhere? You look like an idiot." I'm like, "Why are you sprinting everywhere? Where do you sprint everywhere in real life? Why would you do this?" Because of course I'm an RPer. And as long as there are ways for players to make it faster and easier, they will always gravitate to those ways, and they won't take the harder step because there's no reason to.
Okay.
To real quick expand upon that, players in general optimize the fun out of every game. And Star Citizen's player numbers have just skyrocketed. Like we've seen the player counts just go up and up and up and up since especially 2019, when they showed off Pyro for the first time. So, I mean, you now have probably at least 4 to 10 times the amount of players all thrown at the same problem. They're going to optimize it really fast. And then that's where you... Right.
Paul, you'll understand this. Think of Jumptown, something that you enjoy, right?
Yeah.
How many servers have you been at Jumptown where instead of them doing what Jumptown was designed for, which is attrition, people are standing there in lines walking up to the Pez dispensers to get their allotment of drugs so that everybody can get as much money as possible before somebody comes in to take away their fun. They don't care about the actual fighting. They don't care about the attrition of who's going to hold it and who's going to take it. They just want the money because that's the fastest and easiest way to go buy an 890 jump or whatever it is they're after.
Yep. I hate conga lines. I am very much against conga lines, and I know it happens, but yeah, I get it. No, I get it. And that's a term I've heard multiple times within gaming circles, is players will optimize the fun out of games. Which is true. And I generally agree that I think the key is to make players care about doing ground gameplay. And I think, Crew, you said this, but maybe it was Zool, but I don't like the rocks. The rocks they're not immersive, let alone like fun to use, to be around. Like there needs to be paths. There needs to be ways that you can drive. And I think CIG is failing, and especially when they create these sorts of like areas where they want interaction. So around like distribution centers and bunkers and such, they have an opportunity to build a gameplay space where you have paths that are optimal or safe, like Zool said, it should be very difficult to be able to assault a base that is heavily defended. It should be death to do it unless you have the sort of the manpower to do so. Most people don't, so they're just trying to do kind of solo missions or like that 4-player.
Yeah.
So I think what CIG should be doing in the future is to think about, okay, no one's going to land at this location. They're going to land away. And then to think about the area around that location is sort of like a maze. Which way we want to make paths so that we can say, yeah, you can go through these woods, but it's going to take you a long time. We want you to take a vehicle because you want to be able to take out the local areas or the local people. So let's build a path that it's like, okay, this is a safe path that's going to take you a little bit longer if you're in a vehicle. This is a more direct path, but it's going to go run you right into these emplacements. I think CIG needs to start thinking about these areas as levels rather than just being locations where you get to and then go inside of it. Even the outside of itself should be a level designed around player interaction and encouraging those gameplay aspects. That's just for combat, let alone they should have ground tracks. I've been a big fan of every every location like Lorville, New Babbage, those sort of landing areas should have racetracks. They should have racetracks in there where you can spawn your ship and drive around and do racing things for fun, because why not? It's simple. So I think a lot of it is, as you said, comes down to gameplay. They need to add gameplay and make the gameplay rewarding for those vehicles rather than just having those vehicles. So.
Yeah, you made a good point there too. Like Lorville, right? We actually have our final course for the System 7 finals is going around Lorville and going to each gate and changing out a vehicle and then going around again the entirety of the city. And it is a lot of rocks. It is a lot of how do I say it, undeveloped land. But I feel like they're not ready to do that just yet. I feel like they're, they still have a lot of things to even put on Daymar, like outposts. There's so many things that are supposed to be going into, into the game still. I feel like, I do think like roads and those passageways are going to be coming. Just, they need to start putting, the foundation of what these moons are going to have, et cetera, et cetera. So.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, in real life, if your municipality wants to put down a new road and there's a mountain in the way, what do? They blast through the mountain, or they drill through the mountain, or they'll get rid of the rocks in order to do it. When you come up to an outpost, if you're the first guy coming up, well, number one, whoever put the outpost down didn't think enough to say, well, Jesus, there's a lot of rocks around here. Maybe we should clear a couple. So let's say that nobody did that. The first guy that comes up there is like, okay, next time I'm coming with C4, that rock, you guys are gone. I want a clear path to get up to the front door. So sooner or later, somebody would blow the rocks out of the way, or, maybe take an SRV and hook onto one of them and rip it out just to get rid of it so that people could drive up to the front door.
Hey, all I'm going to say is that don't worry about it. I feel like it's such a smaller problem out of everything, but I feel like maybe in 2 years from now, we'll get the roads ISC. That's what we're going to be waiting for soon.
The new Pioneer creates roads.
Hey, who knows?
Yeah, I agree. I understand what you're saying though as well. The crew is like they've got so many other problems that this is sort of like a solution they have to do in the future. It's not something they can do right now. But knowing how CIG works, CIG usually starts planning these things, 6 to 9 months ahead of time. And with 4.0 coming around the bend, no matter if you're optimistic like me and think that it's going to come out in the next couple of months, or pessimistic and think it's going to come out in the next year, next year or even beyond that, CIG is definitely going to be at the stage where they're going to start to look at some of these things in the future and improve upon it. And I think that's one of the big things that CIG really needs to tackle, especially if they're releasing things like the Atlas and the Pulse, where like these are definitely things that they're using sort of like this person's trying to start off their career with us, so we'll give them a small ship to do something cool and sell a few of them and move on. And those things need to have gameplay beyond just being like a neat little thing to have. And I think that's where they can start, at least in my opinion. Let's see. What's go next? I think we're kind of wrapping it up. Is there anything that you would, if you, I say this, if you would have the ear of CIG, and I know you may actually have the ear of some people at CIG, so I don't know. I'll start with you on this one, Enigmatic, for this one. If you could have a direct line to somebody at CIG and tell them, hey, this is what I'd like you to change in the near future, what would you think is a near future change that could improve the ground gameplay situation? Something within the current scope of the game, not something they have to go out and build a brand new tool for or something else like that. Yeah.
I think that's a tough one. Taking a step back, I feel like a lot of the suggestions we've talked about increase the depth of the game, but also the complexity. And so
Yeah.
you're going to drive players away, no
Uh.
matter what. You're driving players away. And then going back in, I think there is really no easy fix for this other than a redesign of the combat balance and ideologies of vehicles versus players on the ground versus starships. Because, I mean, I don't know what the Storm is for. It's a light tank, and we have those in the real world,
Mm-hmm.
but just use the regular tank.
Yeah.
It's got a bigger gun.
I
The
can tell
downside
you what
is
the
like-
tank's used for.
What is it?
I actually used the Storm right after 324 came out. I had a Constellation stuck on my pad for 2 days, and I couldn't get rid of it. And so I needed to get rid of it. And I had 32 vehicles parked in my hangar around the edges. So I was going to use the tank, but it's ballistic. And I was thinking to myself, well, if I can't get through the shields in time, I'm going to run out, and I can't get the tank down there to repair and refuel. So I went ahead and grabbed the Storm, and it took me about 20 minutes, but I ate through all those shields and blew that ship up. So the Storm is useful. And besides, come on, it looks like the Thundercats tank. I mean, you can't get any cooler than that.
I have my own problems with the Storm, which is mostly of why am I getting in from the front where I'm being shot at? Oh no, my tank is disabled. Let me get out in front of people while I'm like the people who are shooting at me. But you know, I get the spirit. I like the ship. I like the design. I just yeah. How about you, Zool? What short term? What could CAG do to kind of encourage more use for it? Not with what we have, with using what we have now. No new technologies, no new kind of designs. Using only the things that CAG have now. What do you think they could do?
Here it is. Now I'm about to blow your minds. So CIG does support the racing community. They have shown that multiple times by creating stuff like the STV. There's different things that we've done. The little 1/8 STU boxes, you go and you pick them up from your local admin. So you go to Microtech admin, and you can buy. One's purple, one's orange, one's blue, one's green, one's yellow, whatever. You just buy the different ones. You take this 1/8 STU box and you throw them on your ship. You head out to where you and your buddies are going to do a race. You set the 1/8 STU box on the ground that's purple, and you activate it. When you do, a beam of purple light shoots up out of this thing, and you can drop it on its side if you want to, and that's your starting line. Then you go to where your first corner is going to be. You put down the orange one. You activate it, beam of orange light. Now you've showed everybody where checkpoint 1 is, that you can scoot around to checkpoint 1. Go to the next one, put down the next colored box, etc., etc., etc. At the very end, you put down the green one. The green one is your finish line. Super easy, really quick. You've just allowed the people to have infinite ways to design their own tracks. And not only could you use it for that, you could also use it for PvP. You could use it for FPS missions. You could use it for just about anything people are doing. Just a simple little box that's already in the game, just emits a beam of light. That's it. That's my design.
So something, I'm with you because I'm a big fan of anything that CAG does to improve the sandbox. And that feels like a sandbox tool. I like that idea.
Yep.
You know, crew. Well, if you could have CIG do one thing in the immediate, no new technologies, no new ships, no new vehicles, what would you suggest they do to try to encourage more ground vehicle usage?
I mean, outside of, I know I keep talking about mechanics, but man, I just want something new mechanic.
Say it, crew.
But
say it. Release the Ranger. That's
I
what you
feel,
gotta say. Just say
I
it.
feel like there's 2 steps. New mechanics, right? Make sure that these racing vehicles that are supposed to be racing have boost or have some type of advantage over the ones that are supposed to be regular. Like you got the X1 Velocity, you got the Cyclone RC. If these are racing, put boost in there. And once you fix the mechanics, drop the Ranger.
That right there. That's it. Just drop the Ranger. You want people to use vehicles, just drop the Ranger.
That is the most anticipated vehicle other than the Banner Merchantman. You know what I'm saying? Sorry to tell you guys this and that name and bring it back to you and give you all that PTSD, but I'm telling you, the Ranger will make people just want to drive for hours and start their own, motorcycle ganging game. Like it's but obviously they need the mechanics to make it work, because it's a two-wheeler instead of that. But man, I cannot wait. I cannot wait.
I'm with you there.
I think that the Ranger is going to be in its own like speed, in its own speed kind. So maybe they release more of those bikes in the future. But I feel like the Ranger, I guess for some people it may not, but I feel like it may put other people, to maybe get some other ground vehicles if they like the ground mechanics in the Ranger enough. Maybe they want to get another racing vehicle. Maybe they want to get the G1. I'm sorry, the Origin G12 as well. Yeah. So who knows? Who knows? But yeah, I think just releasing the new mechanics and then dropping the Ranger, the game's gonna blow up if that happens. We're gonna get a lot of people wanting to just race with that. So
I wonder sometimes if John Crew, just sometimes somebody will mention the Ranger on The Office. He's like, God, I wish nobody would have ever even brought that thing up. Because the mechanics of trying to get it to work. I mean, it's supposed to be a motorcycle. So the motorcycle is going to have to lean, and it's going to have centrifugal force. So you're going to have to worry about all these things when you create it, especially with those wide tumble tires. And I wonder if, if sometimes they're sitting around talking about it, they're like, we're never going to get this thing done because we just don't have the technology. We can't make it work. How are you supposed to make a two-wheeled vehicle stay up and not fall over when people aren't moving around? And I wonder sometimes if they are wishing they would have never brought that thing to life.
Yeah. And before anybody, because I know there's gonna be people in the comments be like, but motorcycles are in X game or in this game or in that game.
No,
it's like, yes, but what we're talking about is CIG has to deal with motorcycles in the game that is Star Citizen, which is a different beast. Especially with the current stuff, I think one of the big reasons why the Ranger isn't in is because of server meshing. We've seen vehicles do the happy bounce.
Yeah,
they do the happy bounce when they're not moving, and they'll bounce around. And we've seen that with the tables and in hangars where they'll just kind of vibrate. And that they said recently that has to do a lot with the way that the servers communicate back and forth. And a lot of those things will probably settle down when they get server meshing, and then improve and kind of go in and optimize some of the code flows for that. And as a result of that, there's no point in doing something that's like a Ranger, which requires balance and that is an issue. So
right.
By the way, a quick disclaimer here is that everything I'm saying is all constructive criticism.
Yes.
If it comes out a year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now, I'm that type of citizen. I've been streaming, playing this game since 2015. Like I'm okay. Right, I'll go play the next DLC of Cyberpunk when that comes out. I'll play the next God of War when that comes out. I'll lose my mind in Elden Ring. Right, I have the patience. I don't mind. So that's all I'm gonna say. I'm cool. So if they come out with a Ranger 3 years from now, hey, that doesn't bother me. The Demo Rally at Mo Esports will be ready for whatever vehicles they want to release, anything they want to drop. We're gonna be ready, and it's gonna be hopefully one of the funnest times for any citizen that signs up for the event. So
yeah. All right. I think that's kind of our discussion section. We've already been talking for an hour. It doesn't feel like we've been talking for an hour because we did 3 questions, but we talked about an hour. I think it's all good kind of feedback, and we hit it from a lot of different angles, which I think is good. It's the reason why it was a good idea, I thought, to bring up with this crew who knows these sorts of things, who experience these on a regular basis. So if you were watching this after the fact, thank you for watching. Thank you to Crew and Zool and Enigmatic. Make sure you check out their own channels as well as Atmo Esports, and it's atmo.gg or atmo.
atmo.gg.
Atmo.gg. And then check out Enter Atmosphere for which will be on the Atmo's website as well, and it'll be on the top comment down below. And if you did enjoy this, make sure you hit that follow button on Twitch. You subscribe to us on YouTube, hit the little bell icon to be notified when it's released. And it always helps with the like button, because when you hit the like button, it tells other people who might be interested in Star Citizen to watch some of these shows. So thank you for doing that. And comment down below your own thoughts on everything we've done here. We are live, so we'll be moving on to the question and answer session. And what I've been doing recently is I've been recording it separately and releasing it a couple days after. So if this has been a couple days since the first one came out and you're interested in Q&A, it'll be above Crew's head right over there. So, and it'll also be in the comment or in the description for you to click that as well, so you can just watch that. I'll also put the link to the entire VOD that I do in the description, so you can just click that if you want to watch this beforehand. It's always good. You can also join us live at twitch.tv/theastropub, youtube.com/theastropub live on Saturdays, starting at 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific. I would love to have you come on and join the discussion as well. But until then, thank you for watching, and like I say every time, hope to see you someday in the black.